The next sections are about looking at graphs of f and f prime and f double prime, and just being comfortable kind of going back and forth and making conclusions about each of those graphs based on the others. This is a skill that requires a lot of practice. So if I look at a graph of f and f prime, one thing I think about when I'm thinking about these two graphs together is I think about increasing, and when f is increasing, I know that I should see that f prime is above the x-axis whenever I notice that f is uphill. And I can see that on this graph, that whenever this f graph is going uphill, f prime is above the x-axis. So that can be one thing to look for when we're connecting those two graphs. I can also look at the graph just of f prime and say, well, then I know that f is increasing on all of these intervals that I've highlighted in yellow. I know that f should be going uphill. If I'm looking at f and f double prime, I do the same thing, but with concavity. So I look for where f is concave up like a cup rather than uphill. And then I know that f double prime will be above the x-axis because the second derivative is positive. I can look at a graph of f double prime and know kind of what the concavity of f looks like. One of the things you'll be asked to do in this section is justify extreme values. We've talked about this a little bit, but I just want to be very clear that if you are justifying a minimum value, make sure you use careful language with what you're talking about. G of C is a minimum because G prime changes from negative to positive. Be careful about using words like the graph or the derivative or it. Make sure you name what's changing from negative to positive. So the graph is not a good answer there. And then also be very clear about the difference in language between negative and increasing and positive and decreasing. G is decreasing, but G prime would be negative in this situation. So this is a correct justification of that minimum value. This is using the first derivative test to justify a minimum. I can also use the second derivative to justify a maximum or a minimum. If I know that I have a horizontal tangent line at x equals c, again, that means that my tangent line is horizontal, g prime is equal to 0, then I can justify that G of C is a maximum if I can also show that the second derivative is negative at that point. That tells me that I have both a horizontal tangent line and concave down like a frown, so it would have to be a maximum. It is true that there's a critical point at G of C, but language is important, and when I say it is a critical point, what are we talking about is the critical point. And that's also not enough to justify a maximum or a minimum. You can be a critical point without being either. And then again, we have that wishy-washy language or the unclear language about G prime. It's true that G prime is changing from positive to negative at x equals c, but we don't have a graph of G prime. We have a graph of G double prime. And so it's easier to use the second derivative test here. If I have to justify inflection points, I just want to be very clear. Inflection points do not require your second derivative to be equal to 0, although it's nice, that's a good thing, but that's not a requirement, or it's certainly not sufficient. And what you really need to say in order to justify an inflection point is that there's a sign change. H double prime is changing from above the x-axis to below the x-axis. Again, be careful about language like the derivative or the second derivative. I don't know which derivative you're talking about because you can take a lot of derivatives. So just be very clear, give it a name. It's very short to write H double prime, so do that. The other skill that you're going to be honing in this section is identifying whether you have a graph of f prime, or f double prime, which is which. So some strategies I use, I might look at concavity. I might pick one and say, okay, well, what if this is a graph of f? Then I might think about the concavity of this graph, and I might say, well, this graph is concave up when x is greater than 0. So if that's f, there should be a second derivative graph that is always above the x-axis when x is greater than 0. And that's not true for either of these two options. So this can't be a graph of f because there's neither of these graphs matches that concavity. So I might switch to another graph and say, well, what if this is a graph of f? If that's a graph of f, then if I'm looking for its second derivative, I would expect its second derivative to always be below the x-axis, because this graph of f is always concave down when it exists. So maybe this black graph would be the second derivative, and just to finish it out, I would want to see a graph of the derivative that is always uphill for x is greater than 0, or f is always uphill, so f prime should always be positive for x is greater than 0, and f is downhill for x is less than 0, so this looks like it fits that pattern as a graph of f prime. So as I'm matching these graphs with their derivatives and their second derivatives, I'm thinking about concavity, and I'm thinking about increasing and matching that with above the x-axis for f prime. So that's my strategy for this section. I also would like to point out that a very useful tool this section is going to be using Desmos. For Desmos, you can type functions, and you can type f prime and f double prime and just take a look at those functions and say, okay, if this is f, why is it true that f prime is equal to 0 here? So I can kind of think about those connections and use Desmos as a tool to do that. All right, that is connecting f with its derivatives graphs. All right, thank you so much. Bye.